A young reporter at an airport spots a Buddhist monk and decides to interview him. He asks, "What is the world's biggest problem? Is it global warming, world hunger, or corruption?" The monk smiles and asks, "Who are you?" After a series of questions, the reporter admits, "I don't know who I am." The monk responds, "This is the world's biggest problem." The Buddha's teaching on "Who am I?" is at the heart of his path to enlightenment. He claimed that there is no permanent, unchanging self. You are not your body, your mind, or your consciousness. He believed that the illusion of a constant self is the root of suffering, and only by understanding this illusion can one end suffering. The Buddha's discovery arose from his years of ascetic practices and meditation. He learned that what we call the self is actually a collection of 5 aggregates: form, feeling, cognition, mental formations, and consciousness. These are the building blocks of our experience, but none of them constitutes a permanent I. For example, think of a video on a screen. The images you see appear to be a person, but in reality they are just a combination of colors and light. Similarly, the self is a trick of the mind, an illusion created by the interplay of the 5 aggregates. The Buddha argued that nothing within these aggregates can be the self. We cannot control our body, feelings, thoughts, or desires. They change constantly. The idea of a permanent self is a misconception, and grasping onto this idea leads to suffering, which the Buddha called dukkha. Suffering arises when we hold on to things as if they are ours, our body, our feelings, our thoughts. But all these things are impermanent, and the more we grasp at them, the more we suffer. The Buddha's teachings weren't philosophical for the sake of philosophy. He saw people live their lives ignorant of reality, grasping at things they think are theirs. Over time, these attachments cause pain, and ultimately death takes it all away. The Buddha's path aimed at freeing people from the suffering. The core of Buddha's teaching is liberation from dukkha. By realizing that the self is an illusion, one can free themselves from attachment and suffering. This realization is called nirvana, the ultimate peace, where there is nothing to gain or lose. It is not an intellectual understanding, but a deep internal transformation. To grasp the Buddha's teaching of no self, anatta, one must dedicate themselves to the path of understanding and self-transformation. It requires moving beyond the feeling of I and seeing that the self is just a collection of temporary elements. Once this understanding becomes internalized, the feeling of I dissipates and true liberation from suffering is attained. The Buddha's insight wasn't just a philosophical breakthrough, but a practical teaching. He didn't simply teach for the sake of intellectual knowledge, but to help others end their suffering. His life was dedicated to showing others how to transcend the illusion of self and realize the true nature of existence. In his teachings, the Buddha never denied the conventional idea of a self. He recognized the need for language and concepts to navigate the world. But on a deeper level, there is no permanent self, just ever-changing aggregates that come together and fall apart. Understanding this truth leads to freedom, as it removes the grasping that causes suffering. The Buddha asked his followers, "Who are you?" to guide them towards the realization of the true nature of existence. This teaching isn't easily understood, and it's not something that can be grasped intellectually alone. It requires a profound transformation of perception, and even then it can be difficult to explain to others. But if one follows the Buddha's path and internalizes the truth of no self, they can find true peace and liberation from suffering. Thus, the Buddha's discovery and teachings have inspired millions throughout history. He was not just a philosopher, but the first psychologist, offering a practical method to overcome the root of all suffering. Understanding no self is a lifelong journey, but it is the key to ultimate freedom and peace.